Wow, okay. So a couple of days ago I made a video, and at the time of the video I had around 70 subscribers, and wow did it go up. So thank you for that, truly. But in my Terraria video I also mentioned the fact that only 3% of you are subscribed. Let's check if it went up a little. Let's check. Oh, okay. So now only 0.5% of you are subscribed. What's up with that? You guys wanna talk about that? Matter of fact, if I hit 1,000 subs, I'll buy a camera. I swear to God, I'll buy a camera. But until then, let's talk about Hades. Hades nuts on your face. If you're a fan of Hades and you're watching this video, you might know that Hades 2 is actually coming out soon, and that's what inspired me to actually make this video. However, if you haven't played Hades, Hades 2 is in fact coming out. It's in I think an alpha stage right now, so if you want to pre-order it, go do that. But right now I'm here to talk about 2018 LeBron. I'm talking 2017 Fortnite. I'm talking 2011 Nintendo. That's what this game is comparable to. Hades is a fast-paced, visually appeasing dungeon crawler created by Supergiant. You play as the main character, Hades, who oh shit, I just checked. Oh, the game's actually about a guy named Zagreus. Never mind. You play as this kid named Zagreus, who's actually the son of Hades. And your dad, Hades, hates the absolute shit out of you. He hates you. He wants to kill you. So the ultimate goal of this game is to escape hell, or his prison, and eventually find your mom. But obviously it's not as simple as that. When you start the game, you simply start with your sword, and that's it. You start with a sword. You hack and slash your way all the way out of Asphodel, the first layer of hell. You fight some interesting enemies, but then eventually you'll come across your first boon. Now, boons are gifts from the gods. The reason why they choose to aid you is because they know of your father and they heard word that you're trying to escape Tartarus. Boons are this game's version of upgrades. Now, as a reminder, this game is a roguelike, so this game has a lot of collectibles and short-term items that you can use during the level. And just a quick reminder, this video is going to be spoiler-free, so feel free to watch all the way through. Anyways, every time you die in this game, it is a restart of your attempt to escape Tartarus. However, during the game, you can actually collect these dark crystals that help you unlock permanent upgrades in the game to aid you into your next run. With the collection of these dark crystals and the aid from the gods, you can also discover new weapons. These weapons each have their own unique special ability, which allows you to explore and test out different playstyles when playing this game. Lastly, there's your cast. Your cast is a special magic ability that you can change using boons. You can use it offensively, defensively, however you want really. It really just gives you another opportunity to be creative and to express different types of playstyles and also different synergies in the game. With that being said, let me tell you exactly why Hades is so good. This game on Wikipedia was described as one of the greatest games of all time. From the gameplay I've shown alone, you can probably tell that this game's art style is phenomenal. If you went to go play Hades on God mode or easy mode just to enjoy the art style, I would not blame you. This game is 100% worth playing and just experiencing. If you haven't played this game yet, you're just truly missing out. I think the choice of making this game an isometric view is just perfect. The view angle both serves as a perfect gameplay view and also a great way to express the artist's creativity. Every single character in this game is drawn to complete detail and also accuracy to the Greek mythology. I feel like even if you played this game with no audio, you can still feel the immersion and power of these characters just from their art style. Now obviously not the whole game is animated in this crazy art style. But in the name of Hades is this game beautiful to look at. Oh my god. When you're playing this game, it feels like you're playing inside of a painting, if that makes sense. All the weapon animations, all the enemy animations, all the boss animations, they're all perfect. Everything about it is awesome. This is one of those games that you can play and someone will look over your shoulder and ask you, what are you playing? You can see it from a mile away and realize that that's a good game. Because no other game looks this good. Except for maybe Cuphead, but maybe. Anyways, let's talk about the gameplay. Now, as a roguelike, this game is naturally hard, but this game also gives a lot of leisure to the player and makes sure that the player feels very comfortable with playing this game and you can still enjoy the story without actually kind of beating it. In my last video, I stated that I like kind of harder games and I've played roguelikes, so this game was kind of easy for me, but it was still pretty challenging. Difficulty aside, the gameplay is actually really good. All of the weapons in this game feel so smooth, everything feels so fair, the enemy attacks are very natural. It just feels like the perfect amount of difficulty. I really feel like this is one of those games that anyone can kind of beat. Because yes, it's hard at first, but it will only get easier from there. The game gives you so many tools and weapons and upgrades that it's kind of hard to not beat it. Now I know that might not be fair for people who aren't really that good at games, but this game is just so worth playing, and there's a god mode where you can literally just not die, so just play that. However, the only downside of this game is that the boss fights are kind of lackluster. Kind of similar to my Dead Cells video, I talked about how the bosses are more of a checkpoint and more of a skill check for the player. I feel like it's the same thing here, where the bosses are really good at making sure that the player is fit for the next stage of the game, but the bosses themselves aren't really that good. The attacks and patterns are really recognizable and kind of easy to memorize, and sometimes the boss fights feel more of a chore than an actual good fight. But I really do feel like that this is the only bad part about this game. But boss fights aside, this game is still very good. There's mini bosses, there's attack challenges with enemies, there's different paths you can take to kind of, challenge yourself to do different things. So gameplay wise, this game is still very up there. The only thing I'm worried about is the bosses, but that can always be fixed in the second game. Now the last thing I want to talk about that's the best part of this game is the story, because oh my god. Now the way you learn the true story about this game is by talking to the NPCs. This game doesn't actively show you what the story is, so you have to actively keep playing the game and try to find out everyone's point of view of where you are in the story. There's no really major plot points in this game except for one boss fight, so the main way you learn what's going on is actually going around and interacting with different objects and people to build a relationship with them and get them to tell you things that you don't know yet. There are certain things that happen in the game, for example after you beat your first boss, that trigger other dialogue options, but besides that you really do have to go up to people and talk to them and interact to actually learn everything. I think this way of storytelling is really genius because it doesn't throw things at the player and lets people take things at their own pace. I know for a fact when I play story games that I progress really fast, so sometimes there's too much information to really take in. Hades though allows people like me to take in the story at my own pace and interact with characters as if I actually was the character. And it also might sound overwhelming, but there's also certain things like prophecies in the game which kind of tell you what should happen in the game and what you should expect to happen. The way they incorporate the story into the gameplay is also perfect. It doesn't feel like there's two different things going on, but instead it feels like one kind of affects the other. For example, there's certain things that characters will say that can affect your gameplay run, or sometimes you'll beat a certain boss or lose to a certain enemy that will trigger different dialogue options for NPCs when you're in the lobby. A great example of this is the character Hypnos, who comments every single time you die by something new.
Already, huh? A few of us, we had a bet about how long you'd last out there, and I just knew you'd be back in no time.
Okay.
Speaking of all this talking and dialogue, the greatest thing about this game that perfectly complements the story is the absolute insane voice acting in this game. For a while I've been practicing doing voiceover work and recording myself, and this game genuinely inspired me. Every single time I have loaded this game up and played it, I have found a different dialogue from the characters. Just to be exact, there's over 21,000 lines of dialogue in this game. That's a lot of talking. That's almost 300,000 words. Every time you interact with the character, it really does feel like you're inside of the game. I mean, characters will comment on different weapons you use, different things you encountered. It's crazy.
I scarcely can see. Are those the twin fists that you bear, young sprout?
You can really just talk to characters for fun and find new things about them, just by simply interacting with them. The storytelling in this dialogue is so perfect. I feel like I could infinitely talk to the characters and always find something new about them. Going back to the story, this game is just so perfect at telling the story of a really bad dad and a really good son. Zagreus as a character is so perfectly complicated, it's so relatable and easy to understand. There's different topics about family ties, motherhood, fatherhood. Even just the way the story shows you different perspectives is just perfect. It makes the story less about Zagreus and actually about, well, the name of the game, Hades. Without Hades being such a complicated father, this game would not be what it is. If this game was simply about Zagreus trying to escape for fun, it wouldn't be the same thing. The way the Olympian gods find out about and reach out to Zagreus is perfect. It really helps represent that family bond and kind of how people support you. And this game, story-wise, really does feel like it doesn't have any side characters. Every person in this game feels like they're crucial to the story and how things unfold, as well as every single dialogue option adds to the story and Zagreus' character growth. You can see how different characters can affect the emotions of other characters, or the consequences of your actions actually taking place in the game. The use of branch storytelling in this game is so perfect. If this game had linear storytelling, it would not be the same game at all. Figuring out what's wrong and what's right is actually the perfect way of showing the mental conflicts of Zagreus as a character. It helps people relate in real life too, because sometimes you don't know everything, sometimes you don't figure things out linearly, so this game becomes so much easier to connect to. Every single side quest in this game also makes it feel like it connects to the main story. There aren't any misleading stories or conversations that don't feel like they matter to the main story. Every single thing, every single conversation felt like it mattered and contributed to the main story. Even after I beat the game, there's still an entire epilogue that I haven't discovered. This just shows how lengthy this game is and how thought out it was. This actually might be one of the greatest games of all time, and I really do think it deserves its 10 out of 10 rating. Please be sure to check out this game before Hades 2 comes out, because if you get to play it back to back, that will be the best experience you will ever have, and then you can look back and say, wow, GreenCheese is the best YouTuber of all time. I love Green...